It kind of works like this. Whenever we're researching something, one thing out of every 4 sites may be something authentic and usable. And what you have to do is you take that one thing out of every 4 sites, then you work to confirm that. Actually, I guess a good example of this would be the Marilyn Monroe document we found last night. We found what is supposed to be a declassified top secret CIA document about a wiretap that says Marilyn Monroe had told someone she was getting ready to hold a press conference and say that she knew John Kennedy, the president of the United States at the time, had flown to a Air Force base to see a alien aircraft and bodies of the pilots. She also said that she knew of a military base in Cuba and that were ready to kill Fidel Castro, and that she was going to hold a press conference and tell it all. Well, needless to say, that's a rather explosive document. That's kind of big. If it's an actual CIA document, all of this. Well, I probably looked at maybe 25 sites last night, all talking about this document. Now, not just in general, but all talking about this document. And you can split it down the middle. First one I'd go to, it's fake. Next one I go to, it's real. Next one I go to, it's fake. Next one I go to, it's real. You have to find something that gives you a concrete source, a legitimate source, something of a major news network, a major reporter, a major author, something of that nature that says they have looked at this document and they feel that it's legitimate. They can still be wrong. I mean, the best thing that I found that kind of, I guess you'd say kind of confirmed it actually came from the source of the document. So I don't know exactly how much I can trust that. I've got to try to see if I can find something on the FOIA process or form that was filled out. Basically, it said that the author of this book that had found this form in the early 90s said that he filed a Freedom of Information Act for the actual recording transcript of the wiretap, and that the CIA or whoever accepted his appeal for this release of information. Well, on a case of this document isn't real, the CIA would not accept. They would bluntly come out and say, we're sorry, that is not an authentic document. This never happened. We don't have the recordings of it. There's no need for us to take it to a board. Where when they accept it, that means that they are actually discussing whether or not to release this information, meaning that document was real, that this actually did occur. Of course, just because the document's real is not saying that Marilyn Monroe actually knew all of this stuff. I mean, there is a good chance she was just a troubled, mad woman that had basically got, dumped by both of her boyfriends at the time, because she was supposedly having an affair with Robert Kennedy and John Kennedy.
And it didn't really hurt that one of them was the president and the other one was the Attorney General of the United States. The only thing in my mind that calls into question, and it really not even calls into question, but the fact that the author of the book is a learned man. He's a teacher. He's a PhD. He's written peer-reviewed journals, articles in peer-reviewed journals. He has to get a PhD. You have to publish and be reviewed. Someone like that is not going to put his name on something that he can't back up.
Yeah, you would think that someone of that level, someone of that, reputation, they would be a little more cautious and a little more careful about what they put their name on, and definitely something that would be easily or known to be faked, they would kind of stay away from, because if they have any hope of doing any credible research ever again, once you have put your name to a fake document, once you put your name out of someone who will promote something that is known to be inaccurate, your reputation's gone. There is no getting it back.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to put out something that's later disproved. That's not an issue. We're not saying that. We're saying that, if you use scientific methodology and you do it the right way, and then later on it's proven that, because when somebody has a theory, all of a sudden they got all these teams all over the world trying to repeat the experiment, to get the same conclusion. And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they find that the initial data was flawed. But that doesn't mean that the methodology was flawed. It doesn't mean that the person that wrote the paper did anything wrong or willfully was trying to doctor up the evidence. It just means that their conclusions were not accurate. We're not saying that having a wrong conclusion is the bad thing, but willfully putting something out there that is fraudulent is what we're saying. And if they do that and they're found out, then their credibility is gone and they're not getting it back. Their PhD may as well be a Roll Sharman.
Yeah, I guess the best way to put it is that the people were, or the way I was referring to it is if this guy sat at home at night one time on his computer and he created this document, printed it out, and then took it out and said, "Oh, look what I found, look what I found." Then your credibility is ruined. You're done. You will never be taken seriously in any form of research again. But like you said, if you're someone like, hey, let's look at theoretical physicists. All they are theories. They're looking at the information they have and they go, okay, I think this is the way this works. If they're proven right, it's, yay, I was right. If they're proven wrong, let me look at it again. They go to the next theory and they start over again. That's the way things work. It's the very base of all invention. You start off with your theory of the way something should work and you work on it. If it doesn't turn out to work that way, then you start over again. You still keep going. It doesn't discredit them. It just says, hey, this idea didn't work. Try again. Sorry, Mario, your princess is in another castle.
I mean, that's kind of like us. I mean, people, we have our videos, but if people knew the amount of topics that we actually studied and researched that never made it onto the air because we either couldn't verify the information or didn't have enough information to formulate a concise theory to put out on something, because the amount of topics that we talk about in a week, I hate to think of the number of, of the different things we look at.
There are some days we have like ADD in research that we will go through 8 different things in a day.
And out of those 8, we might find one that might have enough behind it to warrant a further look, So, I mean, it's not... we don't just throw things out willy-nilly. We have to find things that are worth doing a segment on. And I mean, even some of the things that are considered to be done to death, and we'll look at them again and say, well, yeah, we'll look at it, but it looks like this whole thing's fake to me, and we can't find one shred of something to substantiate it. We're not going to do a show on it.
No.
There's no point.
There are things that we try to be a little bit on the more diplomatic sound, I guess you would say. We try to be biased. We try to be, not really, I guess you flat out right come out and say insulting, and that's why there are some things that we will never touch. Like a very common theory right now about the world. Not going there with a 10-foot pole. Not going to do it.
No, not even going to give it credence by even saying what it is, because I think my IQ would drop 20 points if I did.
Yeah, it's crazy, so, that's